From Descartes. Again, welcome to today's webinar on advanced shipping for Acumatica. Appreciate everyone taking the time. And just a couple housekeeping details as we get started. Everyone is on mute in your phones. If you have questions, feel free to submit them through the GoToWebinar toolbar, and we'll address them as we go. And if we don't get to a number of questions, we have a session at the end to address all those questions. And also, it's great to see, looking at the registrants and the attendees here, a lot of familiar names, both a mix of customers we're working with, partners we're working with. So, again, welcome, and some of you we saw at the Acumatica Summit a few weeks ago. So, today we're going to give you a bit of background on OzLINK and Oz development. Also, as I said at the beginning, we're now part of Descartes. I introduced myself as Descartes, so we'll talk a bit about that. We'll give you an overview of the OzLINK solution for Acumatica. We tend to use a lot of customer examples, both from our Acumatica base as well as other systems too, and hopefully that helps illustrate some of the use cases that might apply in your business, or if you're one of the partners in one of your. And then we will give you various scenarios of what we can automate relative to capabilities, and give a demo. And as I said, we'll summarize and have time at the end for Q&A. So today, myself, Brian Hodson, I was VP of Sales and Marketing at Oz Development. As I mentioned, we're now part of Descartes, so continue on to expand the OzLINK solutions with Acumatica is a very important partner and channel for us. We've seen a lot of good success there, so we're continuing to do that. Also with me is Justin Donahue, who has he's been at the company about 4 years and has focused on shipping automation with a lot of customers we have with partners at the UPS, and is very instrumental in helping us within the Acumatica space as well.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining today.
So just a little bit of background on Oz development, and Oz as a company, as I said, has gone away, but the OzLINK brand is going to continue on. Prior to becoming part of Descartes, we were really focused on automating the applications around different ERP, from order management, integrating and extending those applications. We've been in business since 2002, and a long success within the warehouse shipping space. The founding team also built ClipperShip, which I know a number of the VARs in the Acumatica space have worked with in the past. And I like, we really enjoy labels and barcodes and shipping processes. So that's sort of the DNA of the company. And we have a very fast-growing customer base across a number of different ERP systems. Acumatica is probably the newest one we've invested in expanding, and that base is growing. We have a couple customers here in that space, Railhead and ZXT, that we've brought on in the last year in the Acumatica space. But we think it's an exciting technology, great opportunity for customers moving from older legacy ERP systems, and the partner channel is a great way to get that implemented and successful for the customers. Late last year, we became part of Descartes, which is we're now a part of a $200 million, almost $200 million software company, really focused on different solutions that help move goods. So a number of solution sets. And as we did this, when I was speaking with people at the summit a few weeks ago, there was a lot of interest in some of these solutions as well. So routing and telematics. So if customers have a fleet, being able to schedule those routes, track the driver with mobility and telematics, great opportunity there. We're actually working with a couple of the resellers, VAR resellers, with some opportunities in this sector as well. There's also a sort of call it a full-fledged TM. So for customers that do a lot of LTL and freight, load building, optimizing those loads, and a TMS solution, again, that complements the sort of small package shipping that OzLINK has traditionally done. And there's also a full-fledged multi-carrier LTL rating engine that also comes as part of that TMS solution. And then additionally, certainly for the US market, a whole set of trade content things like denied party screening to streamline international exports, those sort of things. And those are sort of, again, great opportunities to extend Acumatica, streamline the business if you or your customer's business is expanding internationally. So at its core, what OzLINK does is extends Acumatica in really 3 areas. And Acumatica is a very robust, full-fledged ERP system, but there's also some capabilities or just integrations that help streamline that process. And on the left, starting first, so that's orders are coming in from the shopping cart or marketplaces, getting them in to Acumatica as a system of record, giving visibility in Acumatica from CRM through the warehouse through delivery. So integrating those external applications is a key area that we provide. I'll talk a little more about that in a second. We also have a barcode scanning solution that extends Acumatica to the warehouse floor, and I'll go into a little more detail on that. And today's focus is really integrating and extending shipping. Acumatica has native shipping, which is very strong. At the same time, there are use cases we've seen based on the customers and our experience also in other areas where if things get more complex, there is opportunity, cost savings and efficiencies in the shipping department. That's really what we'll spend our time on for the most part today. In the e-commerce sector, there's many external applications we've run into where you want to get those orders from that external, whether it's a marketplace or a shopping cart, into Acumatica, and also be able to push things like inventory levels back out to those carts. We've worked with Shopify in the Acumatica space. We've done a lot of Magento as well. Groupon's an interesting one. They created a Groupon Goods a couple of years ago, and being able to pull those orders in and streamline that process. In that case, they require a Groupon branded pack slip, and there's vendor guides that we've then been compliant with to help our customers fulfill those orders in a much more efficient way. So really streamlining, making those other different sales channels connected in and leveraging the investment in Acumatica that it provides from a visibility and automation standpoint really becomes critical. And then we can also, on top of that core integration, we can provide what we call extensions. Picking validation. So as orders are being pulled from, let's say, Amazon and put into Acumatica, calling out to an address validation API and highlighting which of the ambiguous. An ambiguous address can result in a missed shipment, additional charges, those are, so highlighting that, flagging them in Acumatica, and allowing that to be run as a sort of managed by exception and correct them can be a very streamlined process. Other types of extensions we do are things like highlighting. We have a customer that says, look, any order over $1,000 that's being shipped internationally, I want to flag that for approval. All the other orders, let them flow through to my warehouse and get fulfilled as quickly as possible. So those are the types of things. And also with things like denied party screening, now part of the Descartes family, if you're shipping internationally, as that order comes in, do a denied party screening before it ends up in the ERP system and highlight those shipments that might be at risk based on that screen of things you maybe shouldn't be shipping to these people or these countries. In the warehouse, we provide a full-fledged barcode scanning, and again, it leverages Acumatica as the system of record and uses the web services to connect that mobile device to the warehouse floor for things like PO receiving, picking. We provide a number of different picking options. We, single order picking, tote-based picking, paperless picking, and really can streamline that area in the warehouse, which typically in a customer is one of the most expensive areas from a labor standpoint, is that pick process. Inventory visibility, transfers, cycle count, all those sort of things are things that we support from that gun. And again, connecting real is Acumatica. So as things are getting fulfilled in the warehouse, someone in the front office, maybe they're on the phone with a customer, they can see immediately whether that order has been picked, it's been shipped, and provides visibility that they can give their customer. Also from a operations management standpoint, understanding are there orders up that need effort to make sure they get out, reallocate the labor, those sort of things.
So today, as Brian mentioned, we're going to focus on shipping integration with Acumatica, and really in the shipping world, put the mouse there. As Brian kind of mentioned, we do have the ability in other space with regard to e-commerce order integration, and even in the mobile world, to automate business rules. A lot of times within sort of shipping, folks will have specific requirements based on maybe vendor relationships, different sales channels they support that ship different ways. Perhaps they select a service based on a weight of the shipment, something to that effect. And really, we leverage kind of the broadest carrier support with regard to the carriers we have integration capabilities with. You see here, all the major U.S. carriers, Canadian carriers, and we even have modules to support LTL shipments, kind of in the just a VIX bill of lading sense, which we'll talk a bit more about as part of the demo. And then, of course, with some of the Descartes solutions, more on the robust side for TL and LTL type shipments. The ability for OzLINK to manage things like packing slips for different relationships based on brand, maybe an advanced ship notice, helping with retail compliant labels for those, EDI type relationships. There are sort of a number of add-on modules we have that support, different types of shipping scenarios, and we'll talk a little bit about those here with a couple of, specific customer examples as we move through it. Great example of a customer that we currently work with using Acumatica and sort of how the pieces fit together. Shipping component with Acumatica from OzLINK. It integrates UPS, FedEx, and OnTrac. OnTrac is kind of a regional West Coast carrier. And their orders on the e-commerce side are managed through LINWORKS, which is essentially a collection, a piece of software that collects order data and it provides kind of e-commerce order management from multiple sources. So if you have maybe 2 or 3 of your own websites, an Amazon offering, an eBay offering, you can kind of manage the traffic from all of those sites through LINWORKS. OzLINK creates the bridge to bring those orders into LINWORKS, on sort of a programmatic basis. We ship the orders once they've gone through the warehouse processes. And the unique feature, of course, with having these OzLINK modules integrated on the front and back side of the processes is not only are we able to update Acumatica with the important shipment detail, we also manage the shipment information that goes back to LINWORKS, which ultimately then is sort of transparently pushed out to the originating order source, originating e-commerce website. So the process is managed wholly by OzLINK, kind of delivering full throughput for them and managing all of the updates to the systems. Currently, we're actually adding the capability to do inventory syncing from a specific warehouse location in Acumatica that's dedicated to LINWORKS inventory only. Kind of a neat little add-on that they asked us for. And again, kind of lends itself to customization. Customers say, I have this unique process. With OzLINK, unique process is kind of what we like. So if there's a need that exists that's maybe not necessarily vanilla, we generally are pretty agile with solving those types of issues. This solution here we recently did with a company that's actually local in proximity to us here using Acumatica. They currently leverage Kensium integration to support Magento into orders into Acumatica. The key for them was the sort of fulfillment process. We leveraged both the OzLINK mobile enterprise solution for Acumatica and the shipping multi-carrier shipping solution for, as you see, UPS, the Postal Service, and FedEx to carry their orders that are imported through Magento, through sort of the pick, pack, ship process. And this customer, the thing that jumps out to me specifically here is this customer was relatively new to Acumatica, certainly was introduced to OzLINK as through the Acumatica relationship, and the kind of speed to value for them with regard to the deployment was pretty quick. They went through a pretty, supported them, very well through that implementation, and they were able to sort of get up on their feet and start processing orders. I think maybe it was only 8 or 10 weeks or so when we originally engaged with them, so it was pretty quick.
Yeah, and one of the things that they got was the ability to also leverage US as an additional sort of out-of-the-box carrier, and they weren't using it before that, and they had an opportunity to leverage a bit of that, do some cost savings on some of the residential type shipments.
OzLINK provides the ability for customers to batch process shipments from Acumatica. Typically that's set up around a business rule by which the customer will say, we want to look at an order status, we want to look at the date of the order, or some combination of those factors, and ultimately based on those business rules, OzLINK will go in and grab orders, and auto print shipping labels. And we talked about some of the extensions we bring to the shipping realm, and a great example of one of the things that we do is that combined packing slip and shipping label you see there on the right. Customers that like to ship before they pick, where they'll pick right into the box, leverage this technology that we provide pretty readily for batch shipping processes. And the idea is, I go in, I get 100 orders from Acumatica, I print my pack slip and my shipping label, and then I can go pick the order right into the box. I have the pack slip to put inside and the label to peel off and put right on the outside of the box here. So it kind of brings that pick-pack process into one step with the application of the shipping label, rounding it out.
And it's very common if e-commerce and consumer type orders where they're ordering one item, quantity of one, the weights are known, to get that rating, and then automatically create the shipment on the Acumatica side and update it with the tracking and produce just 25 or 50 of these pack slips with a label up front, and then just walk through the warehouse and maybe even have those things sorted so that the walk path in the warehouse is streamlined, and they can apply the label right to the box in that case, or sometimes put it in, pick to the box, and apply that label.
Absolutely. This model also kind of dovetails with the WMS picking model that OzLINK would have. Scan the pick ticket, validate the pick, and then obviously everything's there, apply the label as well. One of the recent, I guess it's not that recent any longer, for a couple of years now, we have been integrating perishable shipment, customers that ship perishable shipments with real-time weather data, kind of forecasted out over what the shipment life will look like. This is a specific customer example that we talk about quite frequently, and the thing I like to mention before I kind of speak to the anecdote specific about their scenario is that you'll notice they don't have a logo on this slide anywhere. And the weather component that OzLINK provides this customer is, they consider it a competitive advantage to the point where they don't want other customers kind of stealing their idea. This actually was the first customer that came to us looking for some help with perishable shipments, and essentially they sell live insects that ultimately are pet food, like for reptiles. So the challenge for them is that if the insect dies in transit, apparently the reptile won't eat dead crickets, essentially, and that package is lost. They don't ask for the product back. They ship everything next day air, so their shipping costs are pretty much the highest. They want a real that we do from their ERP system, in which we tell them how many heating packs or cooling packs we should put in the box with the product. And that's based on a calculation of business rules that sort of they came up with based on the destination temperature for the next day. And as part of this process, they went from about 75% kind of throughput for their shipments, their orders. There were actually about 1 out of 4 orders having to reship, no charge. About 96, 97%. There's still a few shipments that are lost here for kind of unforeseen factors, but certainly that ability to cut down on the reship cost, the cost of the product that they send again, was nearly 25% of their total shipping. So great kind of example as to how we can take something that's a bit out of the box for warehouse and manufacturing and say, this is a pain point that's very specific to your organization. We can help you with that. So pretty interesting there. Another company that uses that weather API is actually a company in Virginia called the the Growers Exchange. And this kind of expands on the previous slide and adds more components to the integration. So in this example, and just to be clear, this customer actually doesn't use Acumatica today, but certainly this outlines kind of some of the elaborate processes that we can automate specifically, and certainly would extend into the Acumatica space.
Yeah, in this case, they actually connect right to their e-commerce.
Correct.
So the ERP isn't even involved in this case.
Yep, and so their challenge is kind of threefold. They harvest plants for sale, like small herbs and shrubs and things like that they ship. So they never really have kind of a solid inventory count. They rely heavily on what they're able to harvest from each growing season to offer for sale. So they really don't have any visibility to what will be available for sale until very near when they actually ship the orders. Now they'll take orders all year long and they ship based on season. So somebody might place an order in January for a spring perennial, and they know they'll get the order, but they're not going to ship it until the weather's advantageous to ship. So they really care about, well, what's the destination temperature? Because if it's too cold over there, it's still snow on the ground in Boston, Massachusetts, I'm not going to ship them their flowers yet because they can't put them in the ground. They'll die. And then the last component they use is the time in transit optimization. So we actually look out at the days in transit for the shipment to establish how many days of weather we should analyze. So there's a component to say, oh, well, I'm shipping this ground, it's 3 days in transit, as opposed to this other shipment that's ground, it's 5 days in transit. So what happens is they give us a big batch process. OzLINK looks into their Volusion shopping cart first thing every morning and goes and looks at all their open orders. And essentially, we built a little access database for them that allows them to load what they were able to harvest into kind of a little mini inventory table. We deplete the inventory based on the orders, ensure that the inventory is in stock. Next, we check the weather at the destination based on the time in transit. And the final component to the weather check is what they call the USDA plant hardiness zone chart. For certain plant types, they can thrive at certain temperatures and certain there are levels throughout the United States, and those plants are classified to sort of a level. For example, a palm tree kind of exists only in that tropical level that you see down in kind of sort of southern Texas and Florida along the Gulf Coast, et cetera. And as you move up, into another hardiness zone, that palm tree kind of drops off the list. Well, the secret there is it also provides the tolerable temperatures for the plants. So we can provide a real-time analysis based on the SKU, the plant they're actually shipping, the hardiness zone, kind of dynamically against where they're shipping it to, and ensure the weather fits within those parameters. And this is all done in a big batch automatically. It runs on a timer, so they come in the morning. OzLINK has already done all this analysis. And on the printer tray are those combined shipping labels and packing slips for all the orders that are ready to ship that day based on the analysis. We actually have some logic in the printing component that separates the orders by greenhouse so that they can then easily just take the stack. They have 6 greenhouses, take 1 to each greenhouse and start their picking for the day. And really this process, again, is fully automated for shipping, fully automated for business rules. The customer, OzLINK just produces those labels automatically. So pretty interesting scenario, pretty robust. And again, several very complex pain points that we were able to, using different data sources, automate completely for this customer.
So the other thing we see is, again, with the growth of omni-channel and selling through different, e-commerce, through, large retailers, a fair bit of need for drop shipping on behalf of, let's say, a large retailer. So being able to automate and at that ship time, knowing, okay, this is a drop ship for JCPenney versus Sears, and automatically printing out that, a branded pack slip, so that now the person at that ship station, or maybe those in the current process, it's printed up front ahead of time based on some sort of portal. No one has to sort of pre-print, remember it. You're not thinking, okay, looking at this account, we're going to print out the JCPenney. It is completely automated based on business rules and streamlining that process. We did have, we were speaking to a customer prospect at the time, and they said, they were drop shipping on behalf of both JCPenney and Sears. And the person in the warehouse actually made a mistake and put the wrong branded pack slip in. Or the consumer got that. They were very concerned about security, and they thought, they weren't sure where they had purchased it from, and the customer, almost they really put their relationship at risk with that retailer. So being able to streamline that, produce that, at that same time as the shipping label box eliminates effort and eliminates any errors that again can be quite costly. But this is a customer that does we're working with the marketing group that does a fulfillment of a lot of marketing like mugs and hats with their Big Ass Fans. Now they're called Big Ass Solutions logo on it. So their sales team will be out visiting customers, and then they'll put in basically a request to ship out a hat or a mug to sort of as a thank you to that visit and trying to win some business from that customer. All of those go through marketing automation through Pardot, which provides automation, and ultimately end up in Salesforce. And what they had is they had a person checking each one and shipping those out. What we ended up doing is pulling, similar to the batch process we could do in Acumatica, batch processing those shipments, reading into Salesforce which things need to be shipped. The weights, in this case, they had a sort of pre-packed marketing kit. So it might be a golf hat, golf gloves, and golf balls. So those known weights, known items in a package, and there may be 3 or 4 of those types of kits that the sales rep could send out. So using that and the business rules, we would go basically determine, print out all the labels ahead of time, and it may be a 2-box shipment or 1-box shipment, but produce them all up front. And then at that same time, go do the address validation to make sure that there was valid addresses. And they ended up saving over $10,000 in address fees with the carrier, and it cut down the clerical work by about 80%, a little over 80%. And that really created a huge opportunity and sort of more streamlined process in their warehouse. Another common extension is looking at, as it's ready to be shipped, is the service level, UPS ground, or should it be expedited, the right level. And there may be a change from the time the order was entered, or it might be trying to coordinate it with a delivery date. But certainly, if it's, let's say, scheduled for second day or some premium service, what OzLINK can do and go look at the time in transit real time at that ship station when the pack slip is scanned, so it can say, well, based on the destination and the time in transit, this can actually be shipped ground and still get there tomorrow. So that allows the customer to downgrade that service and save a significant amount in shipping. The flip side of that is where there was a delay, there's certainly a couple of use cases we see as common. Maybe it's a spare part that has to be delivered, and a technician is going with a work order. They're being dispatched, and that part needs to get there at that same time, so that the technician can do their work. But based on those, maybe a delay in the warehouse. It was scheduled to go 3-day, and now it needs to be upgraded. And the additional cost of the upgrade certainly outweighs any risk or cost or penalties, maybe even from the customer, if that shipment delayed. We worked with a customer a number of years ago that did service to large CPG assembly lines, and they'd send out their spare part and their technician. The part didn't get there. They had scheduled the assembly line to be down for 2 or 3 hours. The part didn't get there on time. That ended up costing their end customer literally tens of thousands of dollars because they shut that line down, and then they have to come back and do it again next week. So, the additional $20 or $30 for the expedited shipment certainly had dramatic payback. And this is a customer, they're running GP, and they provide recreational boats, and they made a customer commitment to deliver spare part within, so this is an example of sort of upgrading the service, within 2 days. And this was especially important for their boat owners who lived in the upper Midwest and the Northeast, where the boating season is short. They didn't want
that boat to be out of the water for a week because that took time to get the part. It ends up with the customers are unhappy. So in addition to streamlining and automating the shipping process, we also went and looked at the time in transit, and if required, upgraded that level to a premium service to make that customer commitment to get that part there in that 2-day commitment time. So in addition to the customer service, it also streamlined and automated their shipping, and it cut down on their errors, shipping errors, by about 20%. And finally, most common automation is around business rules. So there might be, if you have a multi-channel, maybe there's a retail channel where the shipment's paid for up front, and writing that back. And there's maybe there's wholesale orders where that customer gets charged shipping, and maybe they get charged shipping plus a certain handling fee, or there's different rules based on that, or maybe based on the order size, they get charged shipping. And being able to automate that and actually leverage the shipping cost and make the adjustments based on what comes back from the carrier is important, and again allows that invoice to be accurate, get sent out more quickly. Other things, turning on services that are available in things like UPS WorldShip, signature service, declared value, and automating that. So we have a customer that does electronics and orders over a certain amount. They want to automatically turn on the insurance and declared value at UPS. Turning on, we have a customer that does controlled substances, and they need a signature or a pickup, being able to automate and turn those things on. And the boat manufacturer I talked about.
So let's take a look here now at the demonstration of OzLINK Shipping for Acumatica. I am going to show you a couple of different transactions here today. We'll show you one with UPS WorldShip, and as I mentioned previously, I will show you how we have sort of some lightweight automation for LTL shipments. So let's start here in Acumatica. I started here in the process shipment screen because really this is kind of where OzLINK begins to find value with shipping. So I can go ahead and process my pick tickets. As we know, Acumatica can be configured to support a barcode on the pick ticket, and I can really start my picking process here by printing those orders and disseminating them through the warehouse. So we're going to use these shipment numbers here to process an order based on a few different things that exist on that order. And let me go ahead and bring up my first order, or my first shipment rather, that I'd like to process. So OzLINK leverages the ship via method on the order to support which carrier that we're going to actually process the order into. You'll notice here in this solution I have UPS, Postal Service, FedEx, and an LTL button available. Those buttons can be manually selected if you'd like to choose the service at the time of shipping, or, as I mentioned, OzLINK can use the ship via map to the order to move through. Now you'll notice here, if I'm at my shipping station and I use the OzLINK mobile solution in the warehouse, OzLINK is going to give me the status on the shipment to let me know that it's been picked so that I'm ready to ship it. And the mobile gun communicates with Acumatica to update that field real time. You'll also notice that OzLINK has assigned a tote to this order as part of the picking process. We do have a tote-based picking option. So now I quickly know, by the license plate on the tote, which order is tied, or which tote number rather is tied to this shipment. So I've got everything I need. I'm ready to go. I scan my barcoded pick ticket from Acumatica, or I enter it manually into the toolbar. In this example, OzLINK picks up the information, processes it directly into UPS WorldShip. I then can, as most folks do, put my package on the scale, get my costs here, process the shipment, generate my shipping label, and then back on the Acumatica side, if I go ahead and refresh the screen, OzLINK has done several things within this shipment. First, it's added the package to the Packages tab with the weight, the 1Z tracking number, and any reference information that was included as part of WorldShip's reference fields. We've also noticed that OzLINK update the freight amount on the bottom of the screen here. And certainly, OzLINK has the ability to add handling charges, as part of that right back. If you charge your customers, 10% of the shipment plus $5 per box or $25 per pallet. Folks ask us for things like that all the time. And you'll notice that also we've marked that order status now to ship. So if I were to go, accidentally grab the wrong pick ticket, when I go ahead to scan, OzLINK will know this order's already been shipped and not to reprocess it again.
And it looks like there's a question here, Justin, on that OzLINK status. It looks like that provides a bit better visibility. Can you explain the sort of steps and how they get updated normally?
Sure. So the OzLINK status for any new shipment that's created is set to default to a blank field currently. Essentially, that means that order is new. It hasn't been touched. Once the OzLINK mobile user loads that order onto his or her gun and actually physically picks the items, whether they're picking a single order, using our multi-order picking option, or using the tote-based picking option, the OzLINK will change that order status to picked. Some folks use a packing station to ensure order accuracy. There might be another barcode scan that happens at a different station. Maybe I'm building my ASN for my EDI transaction and I'm adding items to boxes with a scanner, and sort of assigning those items to the specific package they'll ship in. Once that process is completed, we can change the order to packed, and then of course once we complete the shipping process here, we'll finally change that order again to shipped. OzLINK automatically assigns that tote number in the tote-based shipping model. If Jim is doing his order and he's got one tote left on his cart, and then the lunch bell rings and he comes back and somebody's moved the cart to a different part of the warehouse, obviously he can easily track, hey, I still got to pack that order, go grab it again, and identify it and get it shipped.
Excellent, thanks.
My pleasure. So I want to look at another order here, and this is an LTL order. And essentially, well, oh my God, there we are. This order's already been picked. It's ready to be shipped. It's got another tote assigned to it. And you'll see that I've got a ship via method here that just says freight. So if I were to go and process this order here for LTL, OzLINK prompts the user for the carrier information. So for smaller LTL carriers that don't have integratable software, say I work with a dozen or so smaller LTL carriers that I call for a pickup, I can call for the pickup. I can enter the information as they give it to me here. And when they give me my bill of lading number, my pro number, my shipping costs, enter all that information here. And what OzLINK will do is when we click the OK button here, OzLINK generates a VIX bill of labels for all of the information in that order, so the paperwork just prints as a shipping label would for, say, UPS, and then all that documentation is kind of ready there for the driver. And all of the LTL screen here writes back into the shipment as it normally would with any other carrier.
And just because, so this is what we call the OzLINK core, fairly sort of lightweight but very functional way to ship LTL. There's also, as part of the Descartes solutions, a full-fledged multi-carrier LTL rating and shipping solution. So for people who are doing high volume, and then they're being able to connect that into a carrier network, there's a higher end solution as well.
Brian, I actually got a question here that came in. Are there special services like dry ice amounts for air shipments and carrier notifications still being maintained by the actual shipping software? The answer is yes. The nice component to the OzLINK shipping piece is that it's a lightweight middleware application that connects directly to the carrier shipping software. So all of the horsepower that's provided through UPS, FedEx, and the Postal Service still exists, in the best iteration that company put forward.
Looks like it's maybe from an Acumatica reseller. My customer already uses WorldShip and they're trained and comfortable. Was that WorldShip that you were demoing, and what are the different options?
Absolutely. So UPS World software that we had just taken a look at there. It's the most common shipping platform that UPS offers. UPS does offer a more robust shipping solution called Connect Ship, which we have plenty of experience integrating as well. It's less common. It's more of an enterprise level type solution. Side, they have a Ship Manager that's a small software application, again similar to WorldShip, that does label creation. That's really designed, at least initially, really designed to allow customers to type the information in manually to generate their labels. On the postal side, we leverage the Indicia software, accordingly as well.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I think last time we had this webinar, there were some questions on U.S. Postal. So Indicia is a company that's licensed by the U.S. Postal Service to print USPS labels. So they provide software to do that. We integrate with Indicia to provide those labels, and again, it can be printed similar as you just saw with WorldShip in a very streamlined fashion, integrated with the tracking number and cost written back into Acumatica. So in terms of, as I mentioned earlier, we work with a number of customers. Some of them use our barcodes in the Acumatica space. Some of them use our barcode scanning, and they use native Acumatica shipping. Others use OzLINK shipping. The areas where we see sort of the need, where potentially the Acumatica is, the customer's outgrown Acumatica, or they maybe even have a simple need like a scale that doesn't support it. They weigh their items, it's wholesale orders, they box them up, they don't know ahead of time how much that's going to be. So something as straightforward as using a scale is an advantage. We talked about leveraging the carrier software, and because we're part of the UPS Ready program, it's certified. So there's no label certification, label tests that have to be done, and that's an advantage certainly for the reseller who has maybe take more time to do that, additional projects. Because we're using the carrier software, those are already obviously pre-approved, it's carrier provided. Additional areas that we automate around international automation, so providing the commodity codes and the information, and again, even leveraging the carrier software, things like paperless commercial, that international documentation. We talked about time in transit and weather-based shipping. You saw the VIX build lading. We talked briefly about pack verification, but where we have a customer, maybe they're picking multiple orders at a time onto a cart. They take it to a pack station where they then separate those orders and pack each one, and they want to validate at that pack station what goes in each order in each box to really make sure they have accuracy. So there's an advanced pack module that we can also do, leveraging the carrier services like UPS Freight and FedEx Freight. We provide natively, and then we have extensive support for regional carriers, OnTrac, Purolator, those types of carriers. And then address validation I talked about, plus additional things like denied party screening, landed cost type information.
One of the things that I want to mention, Brian, is that OzLINK is modular from a deployment perspective. So even in the shipping world, we generally kind of build to suit with regard to the things that a customer wants. So for example, if they just need an integration with UPS, FedEx, and USPS, they can start there with the base shipping component, and then say a need changes, they need to add UPS Freight integration, existing processes. And really the way I describe it is, think of like we have a wall of adapters that bolt into the Acumatica integration we provide. We can easily, bolt one on, and of course, if they have some specific needs around process requirements, tweak those adapters to support business rules. So just wanted to be clear that all of this is sort of very pick and choose what you need when you need it from a deployment model perspective.
I have another question here. My UPS rep was in and mentioned OzLINK, and they mentioned that it's applicable. Is it available for CTP?
It is. Customer Technology Program dollars from UPS can be used to fund any OzLINK project, whether it's part of the implementation fees or part of the subscription costs ongoing. those dollars are as good as money. The customer technology program essentially is a program by which UPS will provide you money to spend with their technology partners if you commit to, ship with them for X period of time. So yes, within that program, that kind of permeates from our UPS relationship across the board into the Acumatica world. And the CTP program is certainly valuable in that way.
Another question, we do a lot of drop shipping. What are the options on when the pack slip is printed? Is it pre, post, picking? If you can explain what you see, it'd be helpful.
Really, to me, it depends on the process. We talk about bolting, bolting on a module, quote unquote. We can do that from any place in the process. So from a pick ticket perspective, let's say I want to use the combined pick ticket and packing slip up front. OzLINK could print that information, then you can go pack it to the box, etc. The other option would be to print it as sort of more of a packing slip down the line when I'm actually creating a shipping label. So maybe I don't know the weights of the items and I want to use my scale. OzLINK prints simultaneously a pick ticket, or excuse me, a packing slip from Acumatica at the time of shipment, as well as the shipping label concurrently. It's really configurable based on process in the warehouse.
Okay. I don't think there's any more questions. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time. Really appreciate it. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call at 508-366-1969. You can ask for Justin or myself. And we do have a set of sort of quick videos on YouTube that show the various scenarios, both shipping, some of the barcode scanning scenarios. We'll be adding some additional ones as well in the next few weeks. And stay tuned for our next one. Will probably be on barcode scanning.
The webinar will be available on the YouTube channel probably within about a day or so if you want to go back and review it. And as Brian mentioned, the phone number is certainly good, but all of my included in the webinar today. It's my first initial, my last name Donahue at Descartes.com. Love to hear from any or all of you if you have questions. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.